So, I read an article about this.
Why?
So, because it was interesting. And
No. No. Why are they doing that? Why are they making that?
Why did you read? Get back in your closet.
Why?
3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Server Restart In. It's a weekly World of Warcraft podcast where three opinionated players like to get together to discuss their thoughts and opinions about the current state of the game. My name is Jim. I am joined by Kristen.
Hi.
And Brian.
Brian.
No, you gotta say hi, Brian.
Brian.
You're not a Pokemon.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian. And so this week, there's some things to talk about. What do we have? So one of the first things that just recently happened is Blizzard changed some stuff in their online store. They changed the amount of game time you can buy. I believe it was originally 30, 60, and 90 days that you could buy of game time. Now, this is what confused me, but they said that they were doing away with all of those and going to just $60 or 60 days for $30. That was it.
So you just have to buy 60 days if you're buying it through the...
If you're buying it game time in that manner, yes. So, and eventually they had to come out and clarify that the WoW token stuff wasn't changing and that the subscription stuff isn't changing, which is good because it doesn't impact us. Because the first thing that popped into my mind was, what about my 6-month sub mounts?
Oh my God, not the 6-month sub mounts.
Is this how they're going to get away from people getting free mounts? But no.
So is this like, does this cover the retail cards too?
I believe that the retail cards that are out there right now will eventually be phased out. I think it's probably just whatever stock
But
is.
the plan is for virtual and retail cards just to be 60 days and that's it?
Yes. And I read some stuff. Apparently that is an industry standard is 60 days game time chunks as far as how many subscription games are there that you can buy game time with in like this anyway? Probably not a lot. So I don't know.
I mean, reality is like they should really just stick to adding Blizzard bucks instead of game time itself and try to encourage people to use those that way.
Get a Blizzard balance and then just buy game time that way.
I always kind of thought it was weird that they had game time specifically, and you could also use Blizzard bucks to buy game time. Like it was really weird. It almost seems like it's an older system in front of a newer system type of thing.
So
you know what I mean?
The game time is the cards, right? The game time cards. You could go to
it's
GameStop or Walmart and buy.
There's also a virtual product.
There's a digital, yeah.
Okay, so that was what I was wondering, because I was like, well, okay, I guess that kind of makes sense because maybe they want to stop printing 3 versions of cards. You know what I mean? And they want to just consolidate it down to 1, and 60 was the middle ground. But the fact that they also have a virtual one, you know what I mean? Like, it kind of like, why would you just not get rid of all 3 physical cards so you're not using that money? So you're not using that money and then just leave them on it doesn't cost any money to keep that on the digital store. You're not printing anything. There's no production. It's a digital item. So you have maybe I don't know, server upkeep or whatever for that. But you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know why they decided to make that change. It feels like it came out of nowhere. There wasn't much.
Well, they also said it was based on like data they collected. Like I mean, so printing, however the printing process goes, like I'm sure they go through a third party, and a third party takes a cut, right? They probably don't make a lot of money from that side of it,
Right.
and selling it directly on the Blizzard store, probably, they get full profit.
Yes.
So in that case, like, I don't know, that makes sense, but like, why not give people the power to decide for the virtual version? That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that same. Like that doesn't really make any sense to me because you're not there. There's nothing. It's a digital item. There's nothing there, so there's not a cost associated with that digital item unless it is like the server space for. But the item isn't created, right? And now I don't know exactly how all this stuff works. This is
the footprint is nothing in comparison to the physical version. That's
right.
for sure.
Right,
even
but
the
even
logistics.
But even as the item, it's not like they have to store something or stock something. I mean, the item doesn't even have to be created until somebody buys it, right? Like it's not like they have, 400 in stock, and
Right.
as they go down, they get restocked. Somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I want to purchase this game time."
Yeah, because I don't even think
the
it's attached
item
to
gets
the physical product at all. Like you can't get it shipped on the Blizzard store or anything like
right.
that. So
the item gets
it's literally
created.
just another. Yeah, it's a virtual version of that.
So it doesn't really make any sense. Like why, unless they've just found that people are spending it more for 60 days. People that's the more popular thing.
That's probably what the average amount of game time boils down to, and they're just reducing stuff that they have to maintain. It's like there's one thing and that's it.
Yeah.
And I mean, okay. I mean, if you wanna do that, okay. I'm okay with that.
I guess I can't get it out of my head that Blizzard is an evil corporation now that is doing it somehow for their benefit, because they're certainly not doing it. They're not going to lose money for, you know what I mean? So it just feels, I don't know.
All you're going to do is, I mean, if there are people out there that really, 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 honestly and truly only want to buy games or buy game time 1 month at a time, all this is going to force them to do is to sign up for a sub and cancel it immediately. So that way they get the month.
Yeah, you can just do that. I don't understand.
But well, people don't. People probably purchase the game time physically so that they don't have to have a credit card, because you have to have a credit card to buy it from the store, the online store, or to have a subscription. So, I mean,
and that's too. The weird thing is, like, it's like when I got my son an account, and then I paid a month at a time to begin with to see if he would actually continue to play it, rather than trying to dump.
Right.
If I put a subscription on, there's a good chance I might forget about it or something like that, where I would pay more than I intended. Right. In this case, like 60 days, I don't know. It's $30 kind of awkward because.
Yeah. I mean, it's like if he only plays 13 days, you're out,
right.
Whatever. Quite a bit of money. I mean,
47 days as opposed to 17.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's strange. And did you see somebody had posted something about the prices in like Argentina for it had changed drastically? I don't know if it was.
This happened a while back before too, where the subscription cost in Canada changed. And it was more in Canada than.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So this is probably something similar, and some of that is. I don't know if it was because people were changing currency to the cheaper currency and spending less. So
maybe
like $15 in US might net you, let's just say like it was $15 US and 15 Argentinian dollars or whatever their currency is for the same amount of game time. But 15 American dollars or US dollars could get you 25 Argentinian dollars. So you convert it, buy it there, and then use it on your account. And then convert your money back. So you've actually spent less money to get the same amount of game time. So I think that's why. I don't know why they did it with the Canadian stuff, because I think I don't know currently, but the Canadian dollar might be more than the U.S. dollar. But I don't know. That's
it was something. This one is it says Argentina. It was posted on Reddit about a day ago, but they said something that along the lines that it raised sub prices by almost 500%. Oh my goodness!
What? The sub prices?
Hopefully, it's just a bug, but
the Canadian dollar is $1.26 to our $1. So our $1 equals 1.26 Canadian dollars.
Oh, so we're worth more money. All right. But no, 500%. That's got to be a bug. I can't see them doing that. I mean, unless the government is putting in some kind of tariff or something on that is causing them to have to inflate the price to the point where they're actually getting the amount of money that they need from the subscription or something like that. That's the only thing I could see as far as why there would be an intentional increase of that much. But I don't think that's... It just doesn't sound like something that they would do. Without
I don't think anything they do is really intentional. I think that's really always a byproduct of something else. And who's to say that their prices haven't stayed consistent with, inflation for whatever currency, one way or the other. So,
I mean, you could,
because a lot of that comes in. I mean, where people flip between currencies. Although I don't know that they could do it anymore. Like where you used to be able to buy, not region specific game time through PayPal using a certain currency that was cheaper than flipping it back onto your account. That's a lot of that. It's probably where that came from, where it didn't keep up with the change in the value of the currency, local that region.
Well, not only that, but a lot of stuff now is like you can go with all these VPN tools, right? You could say you're in a certain country, access, a page to purchase things, get the retail code for it, and apply it to your thing. Not every game time probably I would say is not region locked. I can't imagine that it would be. But I mean, I know some game codes are region locked. Like if you buy a certain version of a game in a certain country or region or whatever, it's a different version of that game that's specifically for that version or that region or whatever. But I don't know. It's not really I don't know. I hadn't heard of that. I don't know enough about it to really care, I guess.
Oh, dang.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to... I mean, I guess I can see how it could impact the community and how... If we go back to how they announced this game time stuff, like I first saw it and I didn't fully understand it because it wasn't necessarily super clear cut as far as this is what this means. These things are not effective. These systems are still in place. All that's changing is game time, like individual game time where you put in the code for it, so to speak, where you apply it. So, yeah. That was that.
Okay. I didn't really pay too much attention to it because, I mean, we just do the 6-month sub and then don't think about it, so that's not anything I really consider because it's not anything that really affects me.
Yeah, it's hard to... This is a unique position, I think, for us, because normally it was just, we're just playing the game. What about this stuff impacts us? So we don't normally think outside of our own little bubble. Mm-hmm. And this is something that's outside of our normal bubble. So it's hard to shift gears. So I don't know. That's, yeah.
Well, more importantly, the TBC beta started.
Oh,
yeah.
so that's funny, right? So people were getting it on their launcher and saying like, "Oh, I have it," and then like, was it Wowhead puts out a post, the BC, TBC beta is live, and people are getting invites and all that stuff, and then like immediately after that, Blizzard's like, "Yeah, no, that's a bug. It's not supposed to be live right now." But then like a day later, and then a day later,
didn't even get the bug.
Well, a day later, it was.
I didn't get the real one or the bug.
I know, me either.
A day, like right now, I'm looking at my launcher, and I don't have it, right? But at the top, it's got the download manager thing, and I look at it, and it's got an unknown game, WoW Classic Beta. And if there's an update available, I can update it. I have a beta client for something on here. If I launch it, it is the Dark Portal launch screen.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Unknown game, WoW Classic Beta. That's
which
funny.
is the Burning Crusade launcher. So it's there. Like, why can I download it? I don't know. Maybe
preparing for in case you do have it, in case you do get it.
I can force it to install it, which seems like it's pretty weird on their part. But
the only people who have access right now probably...
You actually don't have it. I thought you did have it.
No,
I have the client for it.
I see.
I don't have account access for it.
So it was only streamers that got invited.
Yes.
Which I don't understand why I didn't get invited.
I don't know either. I don't know why.
Probably because somebody keeps talking about my OnlyFans account when we're streaming.
That's true. Yeah.
That's probably why. You're a brand risk.
Yes. That's me. Jim the brand risk.
And how many of those streamers are still actually streaming it?
I mean, probably a lot of them, only because it's people want to watch it. It's pretty popular, and you get a huge bump in viewership when you get it. I mean, there have been a lot of streamers who
not to mention they baited it for a few weeks as well. So
yeah,
since BlizzCon.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure it's, it's great. And I mean, I understand from a business perspective why Blizzard does it, because it's good business, it's building hype and blah, blah, blah. And, showing the game and making people think about it and stuff like that. But it just feels bad when the only people that you're inviting are the people who are like influencers and stuff like that. Because it feels like you're being manipulated, I mean, I'm fine, I guess, with being manipulated as long as I don't know I'm being manipulated. Like, it's like that Batman movie we watched. Was it The Dark Knight? Was it the last one where he gets his back broken?
Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah. When Bane breaks his back and like just messes him up, something fierce. Like, that movie... Like, I sat there and all that happened, and all it felt like to me was manipulation. Like, I was being manipulated. Like, oh, we have to feel bad for the character. We have to drag him down, and you know what I mean? So it felt very strongly to me like I was being manipulated to feel bad, and I would have felt bad anyway, probably, but it felt very contrived.
Well, they tried to do a classic Batman story.
Sure.
And
I like the stories for the most part. Don't get me wrong. That's not I'm not like dissing the Batman stuff, but it just felt it's one thing to be manipulated and be manipulated well, and it's another thing to be manipulated and know you're being manipulated and you can't really do anything about it other than get up and leave the theater.
Well, I don't know. I think, like, if they're giving out, if the purpose of this part of the beta is not to determine playability and changes and all that stuff, to actually be a testing bed for it, and it is just to kind of drum up some attraction, sure. I guess streamers are the the influencers or whatever the fuck you want to call them are the logical choice for a phase of it. But as long as the phase doesn't last too long, because you really need to get people that are actually going to continue playing it in there, that are actually going to go through and really do their due diligence. And as far as like, they're going to go try all the stuff out. And like, I mean, right now, I don't know what there really is to try out, but leveling and maybe a few dungeons. But because it's not like you can test the end game stuff and whatnot. But I don't know. I don't know how they do all their beta stuff, and I probably won't get in. And even if I do, it doesn't matter because I can't make a Death Knight. So
yeah.
Well, you should remember, like, I think most of us made it into classic beta as well.
we did, and I don't remember at what point.
I think it was fairly late in the game, like a month out, but even still, like, because at that point I was like, oh, I don't want to play until it comes out now.
Yeah,
Because I don't want to get started.
well, yeah, that was what kind of sucked. Is you get started, and at that point, there's really not a lot left to do unless they give you some sort of way to get to the end to test all that functionality. But I don't know. I have a hard time sometimes. I mean, with games like this, I don't think it would be too bad doing beta testing. But like when it's like a new expansion, that that's I'm
rough.
I'm too selfish because I don't want to spoil the story. You know what I mean?
Even though it's a story that's been spoiled by you having played it before.
No, I'm not talking
No,
about
he's talking about
TV.
for
I'm talking about
newer expansions.
new expansions.
Okay,
not classic stuff.
Okay.
No, the classic ones I know. Right. I know all that stuff. I went through. I did every fucking quest. Lore master, fucking seeker shit, all that shit. And I went through and I did it all, and I enjoyed it all, and I don't mind. I know that stuff, so I could do better as a tester for something that's like that, like a remake or a re-release of old content. But new content, it's just I don't feel like I give it, or like I would even do it, because I don't want to know what's in store. I like going in on day one and starting that experience and just feeling that excitement of this is something new. This is...
Oh, you remember when we had that 5 months ago?
Yeah. And it lasted like a week, and then it was just like, okay. And I don't know.
Oh, and now we're going on what? It'll be... What's the record? It's either 6 or 7 months, maybe 6 months. It'll be the longest content drought.
Yeah.
I don't know that's ever, but it's in a long time. Because I think 8 to 8.1 was 5 months on the dot. And 8.1 to 8.2 was, I think, almost 6 months. So, yeah.
When did this launch? Was it October or November?
November 23rd. Ish.
So we're only at 4 months right now.
Oh, we're 5 months.
December, January, February, March.
Oh God.
That's
1,
4.
2, 3, 4. No, we're not. It's not 4 months.
Do your math.
December, January, February,
March.
March.
We're in March.
Oh, I thought we were at 5 months. Why has this felt like 5 months?
Because there's nothing to do.
This is terrible. It's not.
It's not. There's stuff to do. It's just not that engaging.
Yeah.
What's the X factor here? Because again, like, yes, it's fun, but there's something going on that makes it not feel the same.
It's just there.
It's almost like Cataclysm. It's almost like Cataclysm, or Cataclysm didn't have its own world or continent or something, right? Where you kind of they just added zones to the main world, and that felt weird, like it wasn't a real expansion. But this does.
So I think what it is that it's with Legion, you had all kinds of things with characters that were important to the lore. They were teasing all the Illidan shit. You were doing stuff in, what's the Druid area, the Druid zone?
Oh,
Valstra. You were seeing all kinds of like Druid tie-ins over there. The Stone Mountain touring, there's a lot of lore there because the high mountains, Stone Mountain, whatever. Jim's first mistake ever.
Oh yeah.
It's But you know what I mean? But like, there was just a lot of stuff that fed back into the main lore, the content, and now we are in the afterlife, and there's very few integral characters from the past here. Bolvar's there, but like we don't do enough with Bolvar. You know, we got the same faction leaders there. We got Jaina, we got Thrall's there.
Well, yeah, not to mention that we haven't even done anything with Tyranda's storyline.
I think that's Ardenweald.
Yeah, Tyranda's in
Covenant.
Ardenweald.
So there's stuff with that.
Yeah.
Again, that's another thing.
Well, I've never done Ardenweald.
Yeah.
No, it's not normal Ardenweald. I think it's the Covenant, right?
Yeah.
It's Night Fae.
Covenant. I'm sorry.
It's the Covenant.
I've done the
Yeah.
Night Fae
So,
yet.
so again, this is part of what we talked about before, is that there's key story elements that are segregated, and there's not enough driving force in this game right now to make you want to come back and go through it all again. You know what I mean? It's like, it's really hard to log in and level somebody up through their covenant. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's just this is supposed to be super
I just don't
alt-friendly.
care. Yeah, that's the problem. Is it feels like you almost have to have alts, and I don't like that because I play one character and I don't want to play alts. So typically, I level my alt at the end of the expansion, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when
So,
I have
so has Tyranda's storyline wrapped up then? Did it actually go anywhere?
I don't know if it's finished.
It's probably not finished, but I think that they made some sort of progress with it.
But she's in the thing, yeah. I think the thing that makes Shadowlands, and to an extent BFA, different than Legion was very alt unfriendly, but you were constantly doing stuff to try to level your weapon. The grind was real in Legion, and I played way too much in Legion, like way too much.
They did fix a lot of that towards the end of the expansion. Though.
Sure.
That's the good thing about that.
Towards the end, but at the beginning and, all through, I mean, the grind was real. And you constantly had stuff that you could be doing to progress your weapon. So you were constantly playing the game. I played that game. I did more things in that X pack than I did PvP, I did PvE, I did raiding, I did all kinds of stuff that I wouldn't normally have done.
So,
and I think that's why. I think that's because right now I don't have a reason to go and push. Now, part of that is also we're not doing any, major raiding. I mean, we're not even doing heroic. We're just doing normal, and we're pushing through heroic at our speed. But I mean, it is what it is. We're not trying to get to mythic, or you know what I mean. I'm not super. I don't care about gear right now. I just want to have fun. So I think that maybe has something to do with it too. Like, there's no reason to.
I don't think Legion had this big of a gap without something to do. When we were doing Suramar, there was stuff leading up to the next raid. And I don't, that wasn't at the beginning, but I mean, you had, a week's worth of, not a full week's worth of content, but you had new content every week for Suramar, unlocking towards the Nighthold. Then the Broken Shore stuff came out, right? And then you had stuff to do there every week. Every week something new came out, and they had that planned. And I guess enough people bitched about it, they decided they didn't want to do something like that. But I really feel that you could have had something like that work here. And sure, maybe the Covenant storyline was meant to be something like that, but the end was too soon then. Because I hit 40 on my main character several weeks ago, and there's really no impetus to do anything. I'll do callings so I can get the valor points, but that's kind of it. We did some PvP.
And that sucks because they did a really good job getting us to the end of the Covenant campaign and feeding us those renown levels as well. But at a certain point, it felt awkward because nothing was there to do, and then you just got the rest of your renown.
Yeah.
Through your callings or whatever. And come on, you could have extended this thing well beyond, what was the beginning of March is when we finished,
Yeah, but if they would have extended it, we would have been even more oh God, time gating. You know what I mean? I feel like we're never happy.
And again, I think that's part of it. It's just Sormar was time gated.
Yeah.
In the very beginning.
And people bitched.
So now they put time gating in at the very beginning, but only for so long. Mm-hmm. And so then once it was done, now there's no time gating. Now there's no nothing.
Yeah.
And
right.
It's just
that's what I mean. And this, we're never happy. And
yeah.
That's probably a good thing for them. But in this case, I think that time gating it further, right, and just having us go further along would have done a lot of good. And honestly, I think we talked about this before, but they should have dived deeper into some of the characters that we know from our world in the Shadowlands,
mm-hmm.
and made those a part of the story. Not like it's Mankrik's wife is the savior of everything, in
she
there's a spotlight on her, you know what I mean? But
she's
you could
the
go
key,
play
the final key.
Yeah, you could go play a thing that you do something and
it
makes sense into a story of some sort. And that could have been content,
yeah.
Content well beyond a world quest or a dumb side quest or something like that.
Why the fuck with everything that's going on, we had Legion and we had BFA, and in both of those we had invasions. Why the fuck do we not have Maw invasions coming to the other realms?
Ooh, yeah, that's
that is a good idea.
Why don't we have? Because they showed up in Maldraxxus.
They've done it enough, yeah.
Granted,
they showed up in Bastion too.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. Actually,
it would just be after the final part of the Covenant story, where so for which two factions was it? I guess it was Bastion and Bastion and Maldraxxus. What character was I on that I did that? That was my Paladin? My Paladin? I don't know. There's the one where you fight Kel'Thuzad and force him back, right? And no, it was Revendreth, because Revendreth shows up there to help fight Kel'Thuzad. After Kel'Thuzad went back, he was saved and brought back into the Maw, meaning they now have a way to open portals to send forces out, even if they're just small incursions. And most of the Shadowlands has no defense against that. So why the fuck do we not have Maw invasions where we can go and get some sort of fucking currency, whether it be Stygia since they're from the Maw, or whether it be,
because they've crumbled that up into a ball and they call it the Maw.
Yeah, but then
you just go there to suffer.
But that would have been something.
No, I know.
And you could even have toys or appearances or pets, just something or
it's the same way with the Maw itself. At a certain point, you just stop going because why? I thought it was kind of fun at first, especially when there was no mount and you're trying to get around and do all your shit. The quest seemed a lot more rewarding, trying to get them completely done and work your way up, and then but it was very short lived. It was, wasn't grinding for. I don't know. It's hard to bitch about it because going back and looking at it, I don't want I don't want a 2-month grind on something by any means.
I know,
a normal
but
rep grind is usually like 3 weeks ish or 4 weeks or something like that. Like, I don't know. It's hard to say what the problem is. Hard to see what the solution could be to resolve that. It's not like I'm not logging in anymore, though. Usually, like, I'll take a break after each patch for a while, and haven't done that yet.
yeah, you've
but
actually.
I think that's Mythic. I think that's Mythic Plus. Like, us actually running a Mythic Plus and running in rating consistently is kind of keeping me.
Well, we always
interested
rated
for now.
consistently, but yeah, no, I get it. There's a little bit of group content that we could do. Like, well, we were PvPing last week too, and going in and doing like rated arena stuff, and that was fun. I don't dislike it. It was interesting to go in, and sometimes you just fucking beat the shit out of somebody, which I don't know how the fuck ever happened with us. And then sometimes Brian gets double convoked. And
That was bad. It was real bad.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, I am having a hard time logging in. Like, I log into Raid, and that's about it. When we do our Mythic Plus.
I think a lot of people are the same way, too.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not typically like that. So,
Well, I'll go as far as to say that I still think that they did the whole Valor system for, improving gear. I think they really screwed the pooch on that. So maybe that works for a huge subset of people, but for the area that we're in, or most of us are in, I don't think it's a very good system. So and that's really unfortunate, because I think if it was, at the very least, if you could upgrade to 207 without being locked out by 5s, then we could have already upgraded 1 or 2 items.
yeah,
and progressed into that point, but because of that, now we have to,
yeah.
you have to gather these people together, and then you got to get a key that's 5 or higher and
Yeah.
complete it.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel good. It does not feel good. I don't like it. I don't like that it's locked behind that. It's annoying to me.
Well, it's just it's so specifically locked too. That's the frustrating part. It's like the key that we ran last night that was a 4, and we plus 2'd it, or whatever. I think we plus 2'd it. I don't remember. That can't count, because that's just a 4.
Yeah.
Right. And despite the fact that we did it a lot sooner than the time for a 4, it just can't count. Like to a certain extent, that does not make sense to me. I can understand a little bit, because of the difficulty. It needs to be at this certain level to prove whatever fucking point you have to
Yeah.
be able to upgrade your gear. But if I can melt a Mythic Plus at that level, in 3/4 of the time, that should count.
Yeah.
There's no reason for it not to, in my opinion. So, and if you overtime and complete a dungeon at a 12, that should count for 5. I'm sorry. I don't, it's,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's enough between mechanics and complexity, and added stats there, I think, to negotiate or consider achieving those entitlements to be able to upgrade your gear. So
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, like, people, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not going to pug. I just don't want
Oh,
to.
yeah, I'm not
Like,
either. That's just,
I will cancel my account before I decide to go out and start pugging, just to
I mean,
increment my level a little bit. Like, I'm not interested in that.
I would.
Not me. Nope. No desire to do that.
I mean, I would obviously try to find people first, which is like,
You mean to push a key? You would?
not to push a key, to do like lower level keys to like, or like on my shaman, right? Like, just to go do some keys and heal and kind of get that experience. I would pug to do that. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna.
but let's say it's like progression. You know what I mean? Whatever you define as progression, like your main character, you're incrementing your item level or whatever it may be. That I'm not interested in spending time because to a certain extent, if you're gonna pug, you're in that min max mindset, and I'm definitely not at that min max mindset.
Well, there's a lot of, like, when you pug, it's like it's hit or miss. Somebody could have a really good IO score and just really be shit and just been carried. And so you get them in and then they're just not performing. And that's horrible. And it's like, it really screws you, especially if it was like supposedly like an easy key and you had one person that just couldn't make it that night, but you needed to get it done because it's Monday night or whatever. And it's like, look, it's 13. We've timed these before. We should be no problem. And then you get that one person in that you don't know, and then everything just goes to shit because they don't know how to stand in the right place, or they're not going to get in the Discord, or they're from a server that there's a language barrier. You know what I mean? It's just like, or they're just an asshole and they're just doing it to fuck with people's. With people's. Fuck with the people's keys. But, yeah. It's like, it's more fun and more or less stressful to run with people you know. Because when you run with somebody enough, you get to learn your strengths and weaknesses. You get to know the poles, so to speak, as far as, like, okay, this pole with these affixes are going to be, we have to handle it this way. And we all know how to handle it now. And you know what I mean? So it just makes it a little bit different. So we talked a little bit about the Burning Crusade beta, and like there was like an actual pretty big change that they put in, right? So the Drums of War, which is the leather working item that you use to basically get a lust if you don't have a lust. They're putting in 2 of them. They're putting in the original one and then one that is going to be introduced later that is a better version.
Huh.
So, I read an article about this.
Why?
So, because it was interesting. And
No. Why are they doing that? Why are they making that?
Why did you read? Get back in your closet.
Why? Why would you do that to yourself? No. Why would they do that? I'm
going.
Oh, okay.
I was kind of gonna get there.
Oh, okay.
But it's funny.
You're taking too long. God damn it.
I'm trying to lay the foundation.
Okay.
So the explanation behind it was the drums that are going to be out in the beginning are going to be the drums as they were initially. And when it was live, they were incrementally changing them until they evolved into the end game version. So rather than start them off as the end game version, because I think they picked like 2.3.4, I think was going to be like the initial starting point, rather than have them be like they were towards the end and be almost too powerful for content, what they decided to do was introduce, the drums at the beginning starting level, and then later on make it a new recipe. So they're adding a new item to this old game, and it's going to be a recipe that'll drop off of some mobs in I don't remember what zones, and then leather workers will be able to make it to make the drums and make them
Zul'Aman.
better.
I think it was some Zul'Aman.
Yes. Yeah, or Zul'Gurub. Was that BC?
No,
Zul'Aman. Okay.
The raid or the?
I think it was going to be trash on the raid.
Oh, okay.
I had a chance to drop
It's a 10-man raid, Zul'Aman.
Yeah, that's the one over in Blood Elf Land. Or Ghostlands, right?
Yep.
Ghostlands?
Yeah.
It's a 5-man dungeon now.
But it'll be a 10-man raid in that.
Yeah. But I mean, and that kind of makes sense. with what they're doing, because rather than introduce it and then as they release content in their phases or whatever, just keep changing the item, just add a second one and it'll be introduced. I think they said in phase 4, which I think there's 5 phases planned. So it's going to be towards the end, and it's not going to impact the balance of everything else for the beginning couple of phases. So I don't know. It was interesting. So obviously, this goes. I don't want to say against, because they've probably already changed their view on this a lot since Classic came out. But there was the whole concept of no changes, kind of, so to speak. And I think maybe they've seen that, okay, well, maybe some quality of life changes are okay. And then maybe...
Well, what's the actual reason behind this? I'll be honest, I do remember people having stacks of these things, but I don't remember it being a bloodlust.
Yeah, no, it's a bloodlust. I think it's always been a bloodlust.
Has it?
Yes. And the reason behind... do you just mean the item in general? What the reason behind the item in general is?
Well, no. The reason behind them doing this.
The reason behind them doing this is because when it first came out, they were at a certain power level, and they tweaked it slowly as patches came out until at the end of the game, that same item had been reworked to be stronger. But
so you're saying they're just going to release it as it was probably in the beginning of the expansion,
and then
it's not actually going to be from 2.4.3. It's going to be from and then come out with phases.
It's not gonna. They're gonna have the one item that's gonna be released at a certain power level, and then in whatever phase Zulaman comes out in, there's gonna be a brand new item, a brand new recipe to craft that will have that. So in
reality, it's not going to be much different, other than the fact that there's just going to be 2 different.
Correct.
Or there's going to be multiple versions of the same thing that evolved over time.
Yes, it's going to be 2 different snapshots. One that's, kind of like the beginning one, and that's not, but it won't change. It'll just be static, and then they'll introduce a new one at the appropriate phase of content to be equivalent to what it would have been at that time during live. So rather,
oh man, the end of BC was so much different than the beginning of BC.
And I think
it'll be interesting to see how this works out.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why they did that with this item. And I mean, maybe this is a testing ground for, Lich King Classic, right? Because there was a lot of shit that changed in Lich King over the expansion. So if this one item isn't met with just everybody throwing shit on the wall because they hate this change, then they'll feel more comfortable being able to make decisions like this in future releases for future classic expansions, to where, okay, they're okay with us making minor tweaks as long as it doesn't really impact the overall thing. Like if they do this and then the better.
So what's interesting about this is, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the whole point of them doing it in classic, Vanilla WoW, was that they did major fixes to the game in sets, which in small patches, several small patches over the lifetime of Vanilla. As we get into BC and even Lich King, that didn't happen as much. Like there were content patches released that addressed they addressed issues, but did actual content releases as well. So the idea that we're starting the same way at a 2.4.3, like,
I mean, don't quote me on that number. I saw numbers that started with a 2, and I don't know if that was actually like the correct one. So,
well, like in that case, like a lot of the stuff, or if we're gonna have guild banks at the beginning when TBC is released, that was like 2.3 or 2.4. I don't remember. if we're going to have that, then yeah, we're going to have feature sets and everything that kind of come with that. And they're only going to release content on a schedule instead, which is kind of weird. Like the problem is, throughout the history, they've adopted this model of applying new patches as content releases, right? Whereas in the software world, when we patch something, we patch something. When we increment a full release, I guess there are feature sets that come with that, and maybe content reflects that same type of change, right? But in their case, they have content and feature sets that come along for the ride. So now they're attached to these cycle points in their life cycle. And well, why can't we just experience the game as that happened, right? I don't see why they can't.
I don't know.
Still, I assume it's probably something like, oh, well, we have this big old repository full of code, and well, we didn't take a.
I mean, maybe they
we
don't
didn't
have
take a
the
snapshot along the way.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe it's just it's like.
I wish they would talk about stuff like that. I wish they would go
like have a developer's blog again.
Yeah, like the struggles they're doing to kind of derive some of this code back out of where it was. So
yeah,
that's interesting.
That would be interesting. So, yeah, that's kind of it with the drums. I don't know.
People made it more of a big deal than I think it actually is. So,
well, I think it's only because it's different than the whole no changes but quality of life. Which I mean, I guess technically it really is a quality of life change because it was at the time. And the only thing I could see where it would be a problem is if at the end, when you get the higher level recipe, if the mats are not the exact same. Because if you change the mat requirements for it, because it's more powerful, then you done fucked up. If the whole drums of war thing, if that recipe took X amount of mats to make at the beginning and throughout the life cycle of Burning Crusade, all they did was tweak the power of it, and the mats didn't change. If now they go back and they add in a more powerful one and make it cost more mats, that's going to fuck everything up. That's going to really change the dynamic of the end game stuff. Even if it's just a little bit.
Yeah, I bet they won't. I mean, if they're catching heat for this, they probably won't. It's conspiracy corner.
All right. What's your conspiracy?
Nothing really.
Oh,
That's
okay. That was great. Best segment ever.
I just want to gamble on release dates, so we'll see. As we go week to week, let's see how it changes.
Well, okay. 9.1's never coming out, and Blizzard is going to shut World of Warcraft down at the beginning of April.
You wish.
I do not actually wish. But, no, I don't know.
Talk like that.
I'm going to say mid-June for 9.1. And then...
Oh my gosh, really?
I mean, I don't see it coming. I mean, there's not even any PTR stuff. And we're at the end of March.
4 months.
I'd say beginning... do you think I'm estimating too soon or too late?
No, I'm shooting for this time May, like end of May.
So you're a month out. I'm like a month and a half out. I think
I'm 2 months out. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, I was 3 months. I missed a whole month. God damn. But
I'm putting it on. I was originally going. Yeah, no, I'm putting it on 6 months. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't know. Maybe
I'm not sure where I got 5 months earlier then, because I had already decided in my mind that sometime in May is when they'll probably release it. But
I mean, I guess I could see that, since that would definitely put it at like 6 months. I mean, I would say anytime after May for sure. I would say TBC might be closer to fall, like late summer.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
like
August
July
again.
Or August, yeah.
August is when the classic releases vanilla, so I'm going to put it on August again, because I think that a two year interval or between them releasing them probably isn't too bad of a thing. So
yeah, I don't know.
And honestly, like if they give TBC 2 years, it'll be longer than TBC had originally. So
You mean for development or for release?
no. TBC was only active for like 3 months shy of 2 years. So 21 months or whatever that is. It went live January of 07, and then Lich King went live in November of 08.
Damn.
Yep.
No, I missed.
And it had four patches too. And it had four content cycles. And not to mention it had
They must have been working on that, like at the very beginning, like when they first started. That must have just been stuff
I'm sure,
that they had. Well, I mean, I guess if you go back and look at some of like the glitch stuff, you could go to the Outlands from like Classic and all that stuff.
Well, even like Mount Hyjal, that was one. That was probably kind of already built up a little bit. Karazhan was another one that was kind of already built up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be nice if they would do patches closer together again. But I don't know if it's just like they've fallen into this development cycle where they're not getting things done as fast, or they're just reluctant to release them as fast in case there's something wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's probably the situation at hand, providing that complexity to get it out the door, which is not. It's fine. It's not such a big deal. But like in this case, I am excited to play TBC. Because there is tons and tons of content to TBC that's much more interesting than classic vanilla. So I will probably use it as a filler between content droughts.
Well, hopefully we don't have too many of those. Hopefully they'll have enough stuff in the next one to just kind of keep people engaged more.
Kristen, you gonna gamble?
I mean, I feel like the spread is 1 to 2 months. Like that works for me. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to put anything on that. I mean, you're getting to the point where 9.1's gotta have to come out soon. I mean, they can't sit on it for very much longer without starting to shed people. Like, I don't
know. Do you remember the end of Legion to the beginning of BFA? Well, hell, even 8.3 to 9.0 was really long. So
was it? I spent all the kind of time we were raiding and we were doing the horrific vision stuff.
I think it was majority of last year, wasn't it? There was no 8.4.
I don't know.
We went 8.3 release date. It was January 14th
of 2019.
Do you remember going? Yeah, no, 2020. Release date was January 14th, 2020, and it went all the way to
November.
Damn.
That's a long time. But they had stuff in there to do.
Crazy.
Like go to islands with.
There was a lot more to do, yeah.
Well, yeah.
And I would even say between the corruption stuff and just gaining Azerite power, that was kind of a ongoing progression, and the visions, I guess, was kind of a progression system. There was.
Well, yeah, to do a 5 mask run. Oh fuck. Those were a pain in the ass. And then to get the title and stuff like that, you had to do them solo. I don't know. Anyway, I guess, thanks everyone for sticking around and listening. We chatted about the game time changes that they made and how it pretty much doesn't affect any of us. Talked a little bit about TBC beta and how it's basically just open to streamers and only big streamers apparently, because I don't count. Talked about how we're only 4 months in, not 5, and just kind of chatted about when we think things are going to come out. Oh yeah, we talked about the Drums of War a little bit too, and about how there's going to be new drums. Yay. All right. You guys can catch us at our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/server restart in. Shoot us a tweet at server_restart. And until next week, have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.